and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving deep into something that's been generating a lot of buzz lately, solar panel investment in 2025.
Definitely a hot topic.
We've got a ton of really interesting source material for this one. Articles, data, expert opinions.
Looking forward to it.
The goal is to really equip you with everything you need to know about price trends, the factors influencing those trends, and of course the all-important ROI considerations.
Should be interesting to see what all the data is saying.
Absolutely, and it seems like everyone's talking about solar these days.
It really does, yeah. Over 70% of homeowners are at least considering solar panels right now.
That many? Wow.
It's true, and it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, who wouldn't want lower energy bills and, a smaller carbon footprint?
Makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely appealing, especially with all these headlines about affordable solar panel prices and best solar panel deals.
Right, there are deals to be had, but it's important to understand the bigger picture.
Totally agree. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind a bit.
Sounds good. Remember those early solar panels? Big, bulky, expensive, not very efficient.
Oh yeah, definitely a far cry from what we have today.
It's amazing how far the technology has come.
Remarkable journey for sure. We've seen incredible breakthroughs in solar cell technology, just dramatic increases in efficiency and equally impressive drops in cost.
It's kind of like what happened with computers, right? Every year they get faster, smaller, and cheaper all at the same time.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the same thing's been happening with solar panels. To really grasp how much things have changed, let's look at some hard data.
Okay, let's have it.
Back in 2010, the average cost per watt for a solar panel was a whopping $2.80.
Ouch.
And the global installed capacity was just 15 gigawatts.
Doesn't sound like much compared to today.
Yeah, well, fast forward to 2020, the cost plummeted to $1.20 per watt, and the global capacity shot up to 120 gigawatts.
Wow, big difference.
And the projections for 2025 are even more mind-blowing.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Get this, $1.80 per watt and an anticipated capacity of 250 gigawatts.
So basically prices are going down while capacity is exploding.
Exactly. The trend is crystal clear, but the question is what's fueling this incredible transformation? And what can we realistically expect in 2025?
Big questions, and I think a lot of people are wondering about that. So let's break it down. What are the main factors shaping the future of solar panel prices?
Well, there are several key players in this game, but one of the most significant is technological advancements.
Of course, technology always seems to be at the heart of these big shifts.
Right, and in the solar industry, these advancements are leading to more and more efficient solar cells, which means we can squeeze more electricity out of the same amount of sunlight.
So it's all about getting more bang for your buck or more watts for your sunlight.
Exactly. It directly impacts that cost per watt. But technology is just one piece of the puzzle. Material costs are another huge factor.
So the price of the actual stuff that goes into making those panels?
That's right. Things like silicon, aluminum, all those components, they can fluctuate quite a bit, and that volatility directly affects the final price tag.
Okay, so we've got technology pushing prices down, but material costs could throw a wrench in the gears.
It's a bit of a balancing act for sure, but there's another player in this game that we can't ignore. Manufacturing efficiency.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought about that.
It makes a big difference. As automation and production processes become more streamlined, manufacturers can produce solar panels more cost-effectively.
And those savings trickle down to the consumer.
Precisely. So you've got these forces all kind of working together to make solar more affordable.
But we can't forget about the role of government policies, right?
Absolutely not. Government incentives can be game changers when it comes to solar adoption.
For sure. I've heard terms like tax credits and net metering, but I'll admit I'm a bit fuzzy on the details.
Happy to clarify. So tax credits can directly reduce the upfront cost of installing a solar system, which is a big incentive for a lot of people.
I can see why.
And then you have net metering, which is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, how does that work exactly?
Basically, it allows homeowners to sell any excess electricity generated by their solar panels back to the grid.
Oh, wow. So we're basically becoming a mini power plant, feeding energy back into the system.
Exactly. And that can potentially offset your energy bills even further, making solar even more financially attractive.
This is fascinating stuff. Okay, so we've got all these different factors kind of swirling around: technological advancements, material costs, manufacturing efficiency, government policies.
They all intertwine to shape the final price you'll pay for solar.
It's a lot more complex than I initially realized, but before we get too deep into the financial weeds, I'm curious about the different types of solar panels out there.
Good question.
I mean, I've heard terms like monocrystalline and polycrystalline, but honestly, I have no idea what the difference is.
Right. Those terms can be a bit confusing.
Yeah, and does it even matter? I mean, do some types of panels perform better than others, or are they all basically the same?
Well, not all solar panels are created equal. Just like anything else, there are trade-offs to consider.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
Well, you've got your monocrystalline panels, your polycrystalline panels, and then you've got thin-film solar panels.
Okay, and each one has its own pros and cons.
Exactly. Each type has its own unique set of characteristics in terms of cost efficiency and even aesthetics.
So it's kind of like choosing between different models of a car. Some are more fuel efficient, some are more powerful, and some are just more stylish.
Exactly. And just like with cars, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The best type of solar panel for you depends on your budget, your energy needs, even the available roof space you have.
So you really have to weigh your options carefully.
Absolutely. And that's where a good solar panel price calculator can be a really helpful tool.
Makes sense. Okay, so the type of panel itself is a big decision, but I imagine that's just one piece of the financial puzzle. What about installation costs? Is that something we should be factoring in as well?
Absolutely. Installation is a significant chunk of the overall investment in solar energy.
Okay, so what kinds of things influence those installation costs?
Well, the type of panels you choose is a factor, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the number of panels, the complexity of your roof, and even your geographic location can play a role.
Makes sense. I guess it's not as simple as just slapping a few panels up there and calling it a day.
You're right. There's a lot more to it. And don't forget about the additional components that are required for a complete solar system.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, you need inverters to convert the direct current electricity generated by the panels into the alternating current that your home uses.
Okay, right, because solar panels produce DC, but our homes run on AC.
Exactly. Then you've got mounting systems to securely attach those panels to your roof, and of course the wiring to connect everything together.
So it's a pretty intricate system.
Definitely.
Mm.
But don't worry, we'll break down all these costs in more detail as we go.
Awesome. I'm ready to learn more. Now let's get to the question that I know is on everyone's mind. Return on investment, or ROI.
The million-dollar question.
Is investing in solar panels in 2025 actually going to be worth it?
Well, the good news is solar panels have a pretty impressive lifespan, typically 25 to 30 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
And during that time, they can generate significant savings on your electricity bills.
So in a way, you're prepaying for your electricity for the next few decades.
You could think of it that way. But calculating ROI for solar is a bit more nuanced than just looking at the upfront costs and potential savings.
Okay, so what else do we need to consider?
Well, we need to factor in things like the initial cost of the system, your location's energy generation, potential local incentives, and of course the expected lifespan of those panels.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all calculation. What might be a fantastic ROI for someone in sunny California might not be as appealing for someone in, say, Alaska.
Exactly. Location plays a big role. And here's where things get even more interesting, because energy prices themselves are constantly fluctuating.
True, they can go up and down like a roller coaster.
And those fluctuations can have a big impact on the overall value proposition of solar panels. Well, if energy prices are on the rise, the savings from solar become even more appealing, potentially shortening that payback period and boosting your ROI.
Okay, so rising energy prices actually make solar a more attractive investment.
Exactly. It's all connected. And to really see how this plays out, let's take a look at a table comparing the cost per kilowatt hour for solar versus traditional grid electricity.
All right, let's crunch some numbers and see how these two energy sources stack up side by side.
Welcome back to our deep dive into solar panel investment in 2025.
All right, so we are about to compare the cost per kilowatt hour for solar versus grid electricity in 2025.
Right. Let's see what the numbers tell us.
Lay it on me.
Well, based on current projections, solar panels are estimated to cost around $0.12 per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
While grid electricity is expected to be about $0.15.
So even without factoring in any incentives, solar is already looking pretty good.
It is. And when you consider those long-term cost reductions and potential savings from things like net metering, the financial case for solar gets even stronger.
It's hard to argue with those numbers. But of course, it's not just about saving money.
Right. The environmental benefits are a huge part of the appeal for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I know solar is good for the environment in a general sense, but I'd love to hear more specifics.
Well, for starters, solar energy is a clean, renewable source of energy,
Okay.
which significantly reduces our reliance on those dirty fossil fuels.
Gotcha.
So by generating electricity from sunlight, solar panels help reduce those harmful greenhouse gas emissions.
So it's not just about saving money, it's about making a real difference for the planet.
Exactly. And there's another benefit that often gets overlooked.
Oh, what's that?
Energy independence.
Ah, so you're less reliant on the traditional power grid.
Exactly. Which can be a big plus in areas prone to power outages or for anyone who values self-sufficiency and sustainability.
Makes sense. Now, before we move on, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, those perovskite solar cells.
Ah, yes, those are really fascinating.
Yeah, what makes this technology so potentially groundbreaking?
Well, for one thing, they're significantly cheaper to produce than traditional silicon-based solar cells.
Okay, so that's a big plus.
And early research suggests they could actually be even more efficient at converting sunlight into electricity.
So cheaper and potentially more efficient? That sounds like a win-win.
It does. And there's more.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Traditional solar panels are rigid and opaque, right?
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it, but that's true.
Well, perovskite solar cells can be made flexible and even semi-transparent.
Really? Wow, that opens up all sorts of possibilities.
Exactly. Imagine integrating them into windows, building facades, or even curved surfaces.
So we're talking about a whole new way of thinking about solar energy.
Exactly. We're still in the early stages of development, but the potential is huge.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, while these technological advancements are super exciting, we can't forget about the role of government policies.
You're right, policies can make or break the adoption of new technologies.
And policies can change, right? So what should we be watching for in the coming years?
One trend to watch is the growing global push for clean energy.
Okay, so more and more countries are setting ambitious goals for renewables.
Exactly. And that could lead to even stronger incentives for solar, which would make it an even more attractive investment.
Gotcha. So those political winds are blowing in the right direction.
They seem to be. Another important area to watch is the development of energy storage technologies.
Ah, right, because solar panels generate electricity when the sun's shining, but what about at night or on cloudy days?
Exactly. That's the challenge.
Okay.
So efficient and affordable energy storage solutions like advanced batteries are essential.
To make sure we have that clean energy available whenever we need it.
Precisely. It's a critical piece of the puzzle for a truly sustainable solar-powered future.
Okay, so we've talked about the cost, the benefits, the technology, the policy landscape, but what about maintenance?
Ah, good question.
Are solar panels something you can just install and forget about, or is there upkeep involved?
Well, the good news is solar panels are remarkably low maintenance.
That's good to hear.
They have no moving parts, so there's less that can go wrong.
Okay.
But it is important to keep them clean and free of debris, like leaves and dirt.
So just a little bit of cleaning now and then?
Exactly. A quick rinse with a hose a few times a year is usually enough.
Not too bad. And I guess it's worth it to ensure they're operating at peak efficiency.
It is. And it's also a good idea to have a qualified technician inspect your system periodically.
Just to catch any potential issues early on.
Exactly. Preventative maintenance is always a good idea.
Makes sense. Now, I have to ask about something that I think a lot of homeowners might be wondering about: the aesthetics.
Ah, yes. The look of those panels.
Some people might hesitate to install solar because they worry it'll ruin the look of their house.
I understand that concern,
Hmm.
but luckily solar technology has come a long way aesthetically as well.
So they're not those big clunky eyesores we might imagine from the past.
Nope, not at all. Modern solar panels are sleek, low profile, and can actually enhance the curb appeal of a home.
Really? So they can be stylish.
Absolutely. Plus, there are now integrated solar roof tiles that blend seamlessly with existing roofing materials.
Wow, so you can barely even tell they're there.
Exactly. Technology is constantly evolving to meet those aesthetic concerns.
That's great to hear. Now let's talk financing.
Sure.
We've touched on tax credits and incentives, but what about homeowners who might not have the cash up front to purchase a solar panel system? Are there other options available?
Absolutely. There are various financing options available to make solar more accessible.
Like what?
Well, you've got solar loans, leases, and power purchase agreements or PPAs.
Okay, can you break down those options for me?
Sure. So solar loans work pretty much like any other home improvement loan. You borrow money to buy the system outright.
Okay.
Leases let you rent the solar panel system for a fixed monthly payment.
Okay.
And PPAs involve purchasing the electricity generated by the system at a predetermined rate.
So there are different ways to make solar fit your budget.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. There's a solar solution for pretty much everyone.
That's great to hear. Now, even with all these options going, solar can still seem like a daunting process.
It can be a lot to navigate.
Are there any community-based initiatives or programs that can help homeowners along the way?
You know, there Community solar programs, also known as solar gardens, are becoming increasingly popular.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
They allow individuals to subscribe to a shared solar array in their community.
So you can benefit from solar even if you can't install panels on your own property?
Exactly. It's perfect for renters,
Mm-hmm.
people who live in apartments, or those with roofs that aren't ideal for solar.
So even if you can't go solar individually, you can still be part of the solar movement.
Absolutely. It's about creating a cleaner, more sustainable energy future for everyone.
Well said. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We talked about the environmental benefits of solar emerging technologies like perovskite solar cells, the importance of policy maintenance aesthetics, financing, and even community involvement.
And we're not done yet.
Right. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll be tackling even more exciting aspects of solar energy.
We'll be exploring the potential impact of artificial intelligence, the global implications of widespread adoption, and some of the bigger ethical questions we need to be asking as this industry continues to evolve.
Stay tuned for a thought-provoking conclusion to our exploration of solar panel investment in 2025. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into solar panel investment in 2025. We've covered a lot of ground already, the costs, the tech, the environmental benefits.
Yeah, we've gone pretty deep.
But we've saved some of the most interesting stuff for last.
The really big picture stuff.
Right. So let's talk about artificial intelligence. AI seems to be transforming just about every industry these days.
It really is.
So how's AI shaking things up in the world of solar panels?
Well, one of the biggest challenges with solar is its variability.
Meaning?
The amount of electricity a solar panel generates fluctuates throughout the day, depending on things like weather clouds, the position of the sun.
Right. It's not like a traditional power plant where you have a steady, predictable output.
Exactly. And that's where AI can play a huge role. AI algorithms can analyze massive amounts of data.
Okay.
Everything from weather forecasts to historical energy usage patterns, and even real-time sensor readings from the solar panels themselves.
So it's like AI is creating a super smart energy management system.
It is. AI can predict the best times to generate and use solar energy, maximizing efficiency and smoothing out those fluctuations.
So we can make solar more reliable and predictable.
Exactly. But AI's potential goes beyond just optimizing energy production.
Oh, in what ways?
Predictive maintenance, for example.
Okay.
AI can analyze data from the panels to identify potential issues before they become major problems.
So it's like having a virtual technician constantly monitoring your system.
Precisely. And that can minimize downtime, reduce maintenance costs, and extend the lifespan of your solar panels.
It's like AI is making those solar panels smarter and more resilient.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom out even further and talk about the global implications of widespread solar adoption.
This is where it gets really interesting.
It does. Because solar energy has the potential to fundamentally reshape the global energy landscape.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
Imagine a world where we're less reliant on fossil fuels.
I like where this is going.
Cleaner air, healthier environments, a more sustainable future for everyone.
It's a win-win for the planet and its people.
Exactly. And it's not just about environmental benefits. A global shift towards solar could create new jobs and stimulate economic growth.
So we're talking about a major economic transformation as well.
Absolutely. But of course, with any big shift, there are challenges to consider.
Right. There's always another side to the coin.
One thing we have to think about is the environmental impact of solar panel manufacturing itself.
That's true. I mean, producing solar panels requires resources and energy.
It does, and we need to ensure that the disposal of old panels is handled responsibly.
So it's not just about switching to solar, it's about making sure the entire life cycle of a solar panel is as green as possible.
Exactly. We need closed-loop systems, recycling programs, and sustainable manufacturing practices.
To minimize that environmental footprint.
Precisely. And another challenge is equity and access.
Right, making sure everyone benefits from this transition to clean energy.
Exactly. Solar has the potential to bring electricity to remote areas and developing countries that lack access to reliable energy.
It's a game changer for those communities.
It is, but we need to ensure those benefits are distributed equitably so that everyone has the opportunity to thrive in a solar-powered world.
It's about making sure no one gets left behind in the solar revolution.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the ethical considerations of solar panel manufacturing.
This is important stuff.
It is. As the demand for solar panels skyrockets, we need to make sure their production doesn't come at the expense of human rights or environmental protection.
So things like fair labor practices, responsible sourcing of materials, the impact on local communities.
All of that matters. We need to hold the the solar industry to the highest ethical standards.
To ensure that the transition to clean energy is a just and sustainable one.
Exactly. And that's a key takeaway here. Solar energy has the power to create a brighter future, but we have to approach it thoughtfully and responsibly.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the way we develop and deploy it.
Precisely.
Wow, we've really gone deep in this deep dive. We started with the basics of solar panel technology and ended up exploring a future powered by the sun.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We talked about cost efficiency, environmental benefits, the latest tech, the policy landscape, the ethics of it all.
I think we covered just about everything.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners are walking away with a much deeper understanding of solar energy.
I hope so too.
It's complex and it's constantly evolving, but it's also incredibly exciting.
It really is.
And I think it's clear that solar energy is going to play a huge role in our collective future.
There's no doubt about that.
So I encourage everyone to stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the possibilities of solar energy.
That's the best way to make informed decisions about this incredible technology.
And to ensure that we build a brighter, more sustainable future for all. That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.